Good afternoon, everybody. My name, as you will know, is Durga Mata, and I'm Rowan's sister, and my mum is Margaret. Now, when I was given the name Durga Mata, my spiritual teacher told me the meaning of it, which was quite powerful. It's a goddess in Indian tradition, and it is power to fight for God's victory, weapons to defeat evil, and compassion to embrace the whole world. So as one of my friends said, you're going to be busy. But my mother said, oh yeah, Durga Mata, doormat. I said, no, dragon master. So if anybody has a problem in remembering Durga Mata, they can just think of dragons. Now the reason why I've come here today is because I, as you may know, have started a business a few years ago making hand-painted silk scarves and doing workshops. And I'm finding it really difficult to do any marketing. And one of the problems is, although I'm a teacher and I'm very confident in a classroom, when I go into a shop to talk about my silk scarves, I just start to shake. And when I get on the phone, I can't think of what to say, my head just goes blank. And it did occur to me that what I need is to be famous. If I'm famous, if I had a name, then I wouldn't need to worry about marketing because people would just be coming to my door. I wouldn't be able to keep up with all the orders. So in November, I launched on a speaking mastery course. And I figured if I can learn how to do public speaking and not have my mind go blank and my body shake, I can actually go to promote my scarves at different events and talk to people about them with a lot more confidence. The Speaking Mastery Challenge was excellent, and each week we had new challenges. And one of the first was, you can only learn public speaking by going out and doing some. So we had to book some speaking appointments, and I wasn't making much headway. So I thought, one of the ways to do it is network and use your network. I thought, well, I grew up in Quakers, so let me try a few Quakers, and of course Biddy was one of the first I tried. So this is actually my very first speaking engagement. And I was up most of the night watching videos on TED Talks and how to do it and how to structure and how not to have notes. And I figured, well, I've got to start where I am. So the topic, I gave Biddy quite a range of topics, and the topic she chose was why I am a passionate pluralist. So I begin. I have to use my glasses because I'm using notes. So the first thing is, what's a pluralist? You look it up and it says, adjective relating to or advocating a system in which two or more states, groups, principles or sources of authority coexist in harmony. And you think, oh, what's that mean? So there's a slightly better description from the Cambridge Dictionary, which is a person, there are different types of pluralists, but this is the one that I'm looking at, a person who believes that the existence of different types of people, beliefs and opinions in society is a good thing. And a pluralist society allows its members to express and practice their beliefs freely. Now you often get insight into the meaning of something by looking at what its opposite is. So the opposite of pluralist, when it's related to religion, is exclusivist. Religious exclusivism is the belief that only one particular religion or belief system is true. Now what I liked there were the two things, belief and true, because when you're getting onto anything like this, those are crucial. If you don't know what belief means, if you don't know what your concept of truth is, you're a bit at sea. So I picked out 4 words: belief, difference, religion and truth. And why I've got any authority at all to speak on something like this is because it's my field. I studied theology and religious and I have been a religious education teacher for quite a number of years, like over 20 anyway, probably 40 if you count before I was a teacher and I was working in Sunday schools and things. So I have got some experience in the religion side, and also when it comes to the spiritual side, because that's where my focus is. I've been practicing meditation for more than 40 years. Now, When I teach religious education to a new class, I try to go underneath some of their misconceptions and prejudices. I get them to think about, what does the word religion mean? So since I'm in a new class and you're my students, can you put your hands up and tell me what you understand by the word religion? Yes.
A system of beliefs that affects our worldview.
Okay, very good. Is it easier to talk like between yourselves rather than at me if you're feeling uncomfortable with questions? Do you think it's easier to talk in pairs?
Yes.
Yes, right. Okay, well, I'll do the rest of them like that. So when you look up the root of the meaning of religion, you find it is a bond. And it's nothing to do with ropes that tie you up. It's to do with the bond which takes two different things and creates one. It's what you feel in a bond of friendship. And if I explain that to the children in my class, I'll say, okay, if our religion is our relationship, what relationship is it? And we decide that it's a relationship between me as an individual, finite, small, and everything else. So it's the relationship I feel towards the trees, the land, the mountains, the oceans, the other creatures, the birds, the animals, and they do exercises where they think of, what's my favourite animal, what's the animal I don't like most. Relationship can be positive, it can be negative. Draw a line, think of all the people you know, where is the relationship positive, where is it negative? And they begin to get into religion is about us and about our life and about our experience, which is crucial. Because if you cannot connect the pupils with the fact that religion is about them, you can't start. A lot of the children coming into our schools, if you say, what religion are you? They say, oh, I'm a nun. I don't have a religion. It's nothing to do with me. I shouldn't be doing RE. I don't believe in God. And so we start with another question. Between yourselves, what's your concept of God? Because if we don't understand what God means, how ever can we decide whether we're theist or atheist? So just for half a minute, timekeeper, half a minute. Talk among yourselves. What's your concept of God? Not looking at me.
Sorry, yes, I was doing that before.
Okay. Best definition for me is the spiritual environment. Best definition of the spiritual environment.
Would anybody like to share what they've been talking about? No compulsion, but you can share if you have had any interesting conversations that you think would be insightful for other people. Charles?
I'll just read the notes. I was supposed to say no. For a start, I want to say, for all of us, it's a very interesting subject, and it's the place to do it. And I was struck straight away by what you said, Carl, a world view. And then I asked John what he thought of that, because you yourself talked about God. And I got the feeling in those short seconds that we had that John was talking about the possibility of a personal religion as opposed to something that binds lots of people together. And I would have said that, and I don't know whether you two or the others agree, that to be bound together as a group, because I think that's what we're about with religion, you have to have some sort of shared relationship beyond yourself, and I've been happy to speak about God in those terms.
Fantastic. Anybody else?
When I've been talking about this, and we said it's a very sort of what was the word you said? It's the concept of God is
Very abstract.
abstract. It's difficult to pinpoint exactly. Yeah. Well, I like the idea of you said a personal religion. I mean, when people ask me what is your religion, I can't say I belong to this religion or that. It's my own personal religion. It hasn't got a name, obviously. Whether I believe in God or not, there is still a religion, personal religion. You don't have to belong to a group to have religion.
This is absolutely brilliant, and this is the sort of discussion that I would hope to have within my religious education classes. And one of the next exercises that I give them, I bring in a folded piece of paper, round about a passport size, and they have to create a religious identity passport. They have to be able, if they're atheists, to explain what it means and why. They have to be able to explain, if they're theist, what they mean by that. And they learn the term agnostic. And the way that I explain agnostic is, at the moment, I just don't know. I know there are some really intelligent people who believe in God passionately. I know they've lived and died their lives by it. I can see other people are very powerful and influential, and they rubbish the idea of God, and they even say, oh, you lot are all deluded. Well, I'm not calling them deluded, and I'm not calling them wrong. I just don't know. So my starting point for the class is basically, if you don't know, if you're not practicing a religion, if you're not belonging within a religious community, try and keep an open mind, and then you're going to learn. And if you are someone who rejects the idea of God completely, understand why. Because there's an awful lot of children that say, God's rubbish, science has proved he doesn't exist, why are we doing RE? And no, science hasn't proved anything of the sort, because science isn't asking that question. So the first thing they do, they look at, am I theist, atheist, or agnostic? And then, what's my concept or relationship with the universe? Would I say I'm interested in spiritual things, or am I secular? Is the world of television, work, school, what I'm going to have for dinner and what's going to happen at Brexit enough? Or is there something else, something that you can't really put a finger on? Nasreen explained it very well. Something beyond, something outside our physical selves, something which we've got to engage with in a personal way. If we belong to a religion, that's going to help us a lot. But if we don't, then we've got to still deal with those questions. Now, when I was growing up, I had the good fortune to belong to the Quakers. Quakers are an interesting branch of Christianity, which has kind of spun off so close to the edge of Christianity now that some people don't even think of themselves as Christian. But what's interesting about Quakerism is it does give you time to think and space to think and come up with some ideas. Now, when I was growing up, I couldn't see that it was possible to be exclusivist. I could see so much diversity. We grew up in a family that was very fond of nature, and every leaf on every tree is different. Every snowflake in a storm is different. The concept of infinite diversity, for me, had something very close to the concept of God. And if God is the word you use for the creator of everything, and intimately involved with the creation, then clearly God must like things to be different. So the idea that would be one particular way of having a relationship with God, or being saved, if you like, just seemed to me silly. And when I was in my teens, my dad and I were founder members of the Quaker Universalist group, which I believe still does things. I've just got to look at my notes because I can't remember where I am. Yeah, we've done that. Ooh. Now, I had various experiences growing up which shaped my relationship both with Christianity and with religion in the wider sense. And the first of these was that I was at a church school. We went to Radwinter Church of England Primary, and we used to go to the church and sit in the pews, and I wasn't used to pews and I wasn't used to churches, so I was always looking around and seeing all the interesting pictures and the nice carvings, and I got scolded endlessly for fidgeting, but actually it was very interesting. Then it came to the things you actually did in church, and one of these was, I believe in this, that and the other. And I was only 5, and I could not say what I believed in. It literally was like impossible. So I used to go, until it got to the end, which was fine, nobody noticed. But then I think I was probably 5 or 6, and our scripture teacher, who was the vicar, came in and he talked about baptism. He said, go home and ask your parents for some photos of your baptism and bring in some things. And I went home and I asked him. My mum said, we don't do baptism in Quakers because we believe that what your life is matters, not what you say. And I can't remember exactly how she explained it to a young girl, but I went to my next scripture lesson and I said, my mother doesn't believe in all that, we're Quakers. And he said that my parents were sinners, I wasn't a member of the family of God, and we would all go to hell. And I can remember the emotion at that time of looking at him and thinking, if anyone's going to hell, mate, it'll be you, not us. I was so angry, and I wouldn't go to church anymore. I refused to go to church. So I got to know the Catholics, because they didn't go to church, and we used to have a bit of a fun time while everybody else was out at the church. The next experience I had with religion was at secondary school, and a lot of the young people in my class were going off the idea of religion, and they said, why do you go to Quakers every week? Why do you believe in God? And I said, well, I go to Quakers because I like the peace and quiet. I like the crowd of people I'm with. I know them since I was little, and there's lots of interesting things to talk about and think about that's come up through the ministry. So it's giving my life some quality, and if God exists, fine. If he doesn't exist, I'm still getting some benefit. But what you find is, if you do have a strong faith, is you start to get experiences. The relationship is not just one way. And one of the first of these for me was Christmas Eve. My mum was hoovering in her bedroom. Everybody was in a bad mood. I thought it was all my fault. I was sulking in my bedroom. I was probably about 14 or 15. And I was just like not wanting to be there and thinking if I wasn't here it would be a lot better. And as I sat there, I started to get this sense that I was sitting on my mother's knee, and she was saying, boy, look at me, look at me. And I, no. And in the end I had to turn around inwardly to look at my mother, who was God. And as soon as I turned round, I was just flooded with power, peace, blessings, and everything divine. And all the rubbish went out of the window. And I went running to my bedroom and gave my mum a hug and said I was sorry. And she gave me a hug and she was crying. And she said, I thought it was all my fault because I've been teaching and I've been busy with the play and different things, and the house isn't ready for Christmas. And we both went running into the kitchen. Don't know if Rowan remembers. Told my dad and my sisters, and we put some music on and literally danced around the kitchen. And it took us from absolutely miserable to the whole family full of joy. And when you get experiences in your life which are powerful, they deepen your faith. So my pluralism began as a kind of intellectual connection with diversity and refusal to believe that if there is a God who's created it all, he's going to be picky about who he wants with him and he's going to damn people forever. And it moved on through experience. But at that time, I'd never really met anyone else, just watching the cards because my sister's doing me a timekeep, until I went to Northern Ireland. And I went to Northern Ireland in 1971, I think, and it was in the middle of the Troubles. I wanted to do farming. I wanted to stay. My dad was a farmer. I wanted to stay in farming, preferably dairying. So I found a farm, I was living with the farmer, and they were staunch Protestant. And I would have some wonderful debates with his wife, and we would discuss Bernadette Devlin, who was a leading Catholic politician who I liked at that time. And one day she said, well, there might be something in what you say, but at the end of the day, I could never trust a Catholic. And I was just shocked, because it's like, how do you just dump millions of people that you don't know? Well, my reaction was to find a local Catholic school and join the Guiders and start helping them with the Girl Guides, which didn't go very well with the family I was staying with, so I got my own accommodation as well. And one day we were driving into Belfast and following a jeep, an army jeep, and the back door was open and the soldier was sitting there with his gun across his knee, and one of the ladies in the front said, "Oh, he's handsome." And I realised I was knotted up with hate. And I was shocked to realise, why am I feeling hatred for someone I've never met or spoken to? And over the next few days, I reflected on it and I realised it's because the army terrified me. They were always stopping us. I used to cycle around. They would even jump out the bushes and grab my bike and throw me off it a couple of times. In the dark, suddenly all the lights would be on and they'd seize my bike. And I literally thought I was about to die, because all you can see is guns and skinheads holding them, because they're just young boys that have been taught to hold a gun, and you know if their finger slips, you're dead. And I had to kind of come to terms with the fact that I was scared. And why I was scared was why I had become starting to hate a group of people. So the next time I was hitchhiking near Enniskillen on the border, and I was with a driver and there was a random army stop. And he said, "Oh no," he said, "it's my brother's car. I don't even know the number plate. They'll take us to bits. We'll be here for hours." And we got out and it was raining. And I overrode the fear and the hate that I was feeling, my emotional feeling. I just overrode it. And I figured maybe they look so hostile because they're frightened of us. And they have no idea when someone's going to drop a bomb or open fire on them. And they're only little kids just out of school. And that's why they look so hostile. So I made myself be friendly. And I said, "God, what a day to be doing this. You must be looking forward to going home, you know." And I got chatting and they didn't stop being professional. They didn't stop searching us. But they melted. The atmosphere melted. They didn't take the car apart. They greeted us, we waved goodbye to each other, and the guy couldn't believe it. And he said, "It's a miracle. I've never known anything like that." And I thought it was a miracle, and it proves to me love conquers. And it was one step in my journey to discover that my Quakerism is true, and so is their Catholic, and so is when I got to know my husband, his Hindu, and when I worshipped with him, our Sikh landlord, my Muslim best friend, I was finding God. And it was exciting because this spiritual side of things and this divinity is there. It is real and it is powerful. And we can use it to change our lives and change the world. And as soon as somebody tries to put a wall around here or a wall around there, or narrow mental ideas, they're creating this divide and causing that kind of hatred. And I would like to finish by reciting a poem which is composed by my spiritual teacher when he was about 20, 21. And it expresses his own realization. It's called The Absolute. I hope I can remember it. There is, but no, that's not it. That's another poem. I could use that. I'll finish with that one because I can't remember the absolute. It's a minute. Let me try. I know the second verse. I'll start with that. A realm of bliss, bare, ultimate, beyond both knower and known. A rest immense I enjoy at last. I face the one alone. I have crossed the secret ways of life. I have become the goal. The truth immutable is revealed. I am the way, the God soul. My spirit aware of all the heights, I am mute in the core of the sun. I barter nothing with time or deeds. My cosmic play is done. Remember the first verse in a minute. So that's it, finish.
tell them what you're going to tell them, and then tell them you told
Yes,
them.
that's right.
And I was it Hitler? Okay, and he was a good communicator. Had a few bad character traits, but he was very good at communicating. Spent the first little while, because we didn't have an introduction to say what we were coming to, thinking, what world am I in? And it would have just helped me, I think, if you said, my name is, and today I'm speaking about boom. I was thinking,
I actually thought I did, because I explained my name, and then I explained I'm going to be talking about pluralism and why I'm a passionate pluralist. And then I explained what pluralism was and what it wasn't. And then I explained how my initial ideas of pluralism were to do with diversity of the world. And my intellectual rejection of the idea that there could be only one way to a God who loves diversity and creates everything different.
No, that's all true. For some reason, I didn't hear. I think there was just something about that initial 30 seconds, just creating the platform, and I wasn't. I wasn't sure when the platform was being created.
Right.
Maybe that's just personal, the way I'm hearing
brilliant.
things.
I mean, the whole point is to get feedback. Did anybody else have a problem to realise what I was talking about?
Yeah, I think maybe the idea is that the context was not defined very well, and it was between a lecture and then kind of a little bit of a workshop.
Yes, I want to make it interactive.
A little bit of a classroom when you ask questions, but there's some answers, and there is. I think it could be, and I think it's great because we can obviously see that it's developing. But it could help a lot for you to define and find where you find more comfortable. What is the context? Is there a workshop?
To set the scene.
What is the setting for that? Because here, of course, it's a very friendly audience that's playing the game. It's very comfortable. But at one moment, if you're going to encounter an audience that is not that friendly or that,
that's right.
Providing the context and providing also the setting. If it's going to be a workshop, is this the right delivery, or is it more close, or more to favor exchange, these kind of things? And I think that is going to help you be more confident into how the things are delivered and mastering the thing. And by doing that, automatically the people who come in from the very beginning, they're going to know what are they here for. What are they kind of expecting, even though there are many unknowns, but it's not during the speech that they're going to be learning what you're being, because you were saying all these things, and I think that's what Carl was saying, but that's during the speech, so it became clear, and as a matter of fact, as it started to roll, you start to feel more confident, and we also start to be more at ease of and hanging on into the story. But if from the very beginning, I mean, when we sit, we already know a little bit what we're expecting and what we're doing here. I think it helps. And after that, I mean, this is the kind of conversation like now I could have the whole Sunday afternoon enjoying talking about this. It's like, my goodness, this is what I would like, you know?
Thank you very much. Because I actually planned it in my notes that I have covered the introduction. I've covered the introduction to the topic. I didn't realise, because I've not done it before, how much you need to actually set that solidly in place and kind of maybe check, does everybody understand I'm here to talk about, what am I here to talk about? Why I'm a passionate pluralist. And that would be good. And yes, I am interactive and I do ask questions because I'm coming from a teaching background and I've been to so many lectures that have been so boring. And you just get a sore backside from sitting a long time and a headache because they don't stop talking. So I like to try and break it up with activities, and I'm hoping to be able to make that really a feature of when you invite me, this is what you get. Another thing that when you invite me you might get is, oh, by the way, the first line of that verse was, no mind, no form, I only exist, now ceased all will and thought, the final end of nature's dance, I am it whom I have sought. 21-year-old writing like that. It's the experience of God realization is, it's in our hands through many sages. And in my view, one of the reasons why people panic and think it's got to be an exclusivist religion is because we've been given a timeline by the early bishops in Christianity. Because there's plenty of things in the Bible which reflect a concept of reincarnation. But it's been completely leached out over the centuries. And I can't make sense of my own life without reincarnation. My father-in-law thinks I was a freedom fighter in Bengal, and I was so prejudiced God made me be born British. But I used to think my family was from another planet until I met Indian culture, and then it was like, oh, it was me from somewhere else, not them. So yes, I think that, you know, if you've got a time scale of infinity, which reincarnation gives, and a goal of becoming perfect, which you need more than one lifetime for, you don't have that intense pressure that many fundamentalist Christians have of, if you don't do this now, you will burn. And again, the concept of hell becomes, if you don't change, you will continue suffering. You know, what else is eternal damnation but eternal suffering? And if we do the wrong thing, it comes back and smacks us. And I think there are many people living in this world who are suffering hell. So, yeah, interesting. Anyway, you now have to dance out. Because come on, dance. That was George Fox.
It was, yes.
It was George Fox after a fashion.